Hey guys, Kassad here. You're about to watch Thorin talk and talk and talk. But it's kind of good, I swear.
Right, this is going to be another talk to Thorin, depending on what order I release him in, with Kassad. That's right, we teased it all before as well. There might be a trilogy, we'll see. So on this particular one, Kassad, the idea was, and this is going to be a very unique one actually for my channel, people will know, obviously on my channel and on the Last Free Nation channel, we have a big betting sponsor. And one of the things they wanted us to do, which is an obvious thing you do as a deliverable, is to engage with betting and try and like do things like, don't just do a video where you say like who the good teams are. You actually look at the odds and you try and tell people, well, I'm going to bet on this one. And obviously they wanted us to actually bet so that we'd have to actually even engage with the concept of how you do it. And because essentially what people don't get is this: it's not that the company, look, in terms of business, obviously they want to make money, but they don't just want people to think like you just bet on whoever, and if you win, you win, you lose. Because that doesn't make betting fun for you. That doesn't make it interesting for you, the person doing the betting. What they want is they want people like me in CSGO, Monty in League of Legends. They want people who are considered experts to show like, this is where I put my money. Like, I'm not just doing it because that seems that, like, I'm going to lose it if it doesn't happen. I'm going to have to look like silly if I get the wrong one, like I did when I put fucking like $7,000 on Ents to win a load of Pro League games, and they made me look like a fucking idiot. Because what I had to learn there, we'll get to this later, was don't ever do big bets on teams you've never seen play before, even if the idea is great. Because what I had to learn there, Kassad, was on a desk that would be a straight fire take. Actually looking at that betting slip's really depressing now when I look at it. Like, I have regrets, but that's the thing I've learned. So what I thought we'd do on this video actually came, if people saw, from a little Twitter interaction. I was trying to explain to people that what I've learned about betting is, this is where we're all wrong. It's not about how much you know about CSGO, or if you know behind the scenes, like, well, look, actually this player's joined, but he is really good, like you can do that. Like, what you actually need to know is if there's a whole meta and strategy to how you bet and when you bet and what's a good bet. And what I even said on Twitter was, the one I'd never thought of, it wasn't just who's going to win, are the odds good. I had to also learn, sometimes I think I know who's going to win, I think the odds are fine, but this game actually is a trap game, because I also think the odds are fine for the other team and they could lose. And I actually don't know, like, because here's the thing I had to learn basically was, you have to think of betting. My analogy, I'm sure you're going to get this, is poker, obviously. You have to think of it like your bankroll. Now, in poker, you don't play above your level, because that way, even if you're the best player in the world, if you have a bad couple of sessions, you're broke and there is no next session. So, you know, in poker, the logic goes, if I'm making certain decisions mathematically because it's the right player, I'm doing it knowing I can lose today, but in the long run, because I'm doing the right decisions, I will win. But if I don't have the bankroll, I can't get to where I actually would win later if I have an unlucky run. So, first of all, there's that angle. And then the other angle also, which comes from a sort of a poker mindset, is you also have to figure out, in poker, you don't, even if you think I've got a better hand than him, I don't play every hand to the limit. Like, if someone goes all in, I don't care that I have jacks. Maybe he really does have the aces. Fuck it, it might be the one time, so I'm not going to risk my whole bankroll. So similarly, I also had to learn, and this is the hardest one to figure out, when not to bet. Because what I had to learn was this, Kassad, it's a really weird concept is, so if I don't bet today, the money's still there to bet any other time. So why don't I only wait for the really good bets? Why am I doing it on ones where it's like, right, well, today, here have these 10, I'm going to take these 5. It's like, maybe I take 2, and then I wait for next time, and maybe one time there is 5 that are great, and I do it then. So I actually think this topic, there's so much we can get into. What Janko basically told me, or hinted at, that's why I reached out to you, was he said, like, Kassad's actually the guy you should do this with. And I was thinking, like, okay, look, he was a good coach then, but what the fuck's the relevance? So I had to ask you was, and this is what he was hinting at, you basically do this as like your side gig, right? In sports, though. You've been doing it outside of esports, right?
Yeah, the thing is, like, first of all, obviously, we as a coaches or teams of the members of the broadcast team, and obviously as a member of any organization or a team, you're not allowed to bet, right? That's just straight
on esports. Yes.
Yeah, on esports. Yeah. They told us back in 2018 when we had a meeting in Marseille, I believe it was. And obviously, when you're in the broadcast team, it's sort of a gray area. I don't know if nobody told us about anything, but it's gray area. It's a little bit shady, you know, so you stay away from there. However, I do bet on sports, like traditional sports, and I do quite a lot. So I make around 150 to 200 bets a month, give or take, depending on the month.
Okay.
So I
must be focusing on a lot to do that many. Then you've got a whole system going, right?
Oh yeah, whole system going on. It's not like something super crazy strategy, but it's like you said some accurate things when you just introduced the video. It was like, first of all, that you need to understand is like how to manage your bankroll, right? Let's say you are a guy who likes to bet on CSGO or esports or any kind of bets, right? And you have $1,000 as your bankroll. So you cannot be placing bets of $100. It's just, or 200. That's just gonna straight lead you into a bankruptcy. Like straight up, you're gonna lose all of your money in about a week or so. Or if some you're a little bit more lucky, it's gonna last a couple of weeks, but that's it. So for more conservative people there, for the beginners in this, betting kind of thing, you need to go with 1 or 2% of your bets, right? Or 2% of your stake. So you have $1,000, so you go for a bet that's like $10 to $20. If you're a little bit more aggressive with what people used to do and still doing a little more aggressive, like 3 to 4 or even 5%, that's like super aggressive with a $50 bet, with your bankroll is a 1,000. So that's like the optimum. But I personally, when I bet, I go no more than 2.5% per bet, so 2.5 units. So if you have $1,000 again, 25 would be the optimal, the maximum that you would bet. But usually I go with like 1% to 2% depending on the bet. Right. Also, what you need to take into account is the fact that you need to exclude emotions from that completely, right? Completely. So just give me a second. So if you're a fan of G2 or anybody else, right, you don't want to bet, for them just because you're rooting for them, even though the odds are bad, you're just wasting money there. Never, ever do that, because you're going to end up losing all of your money very easily, very quickly. So, it's just, that's a big no-no, right?
I'll even say that's one, because I can give you, as we go, like my experience of how I had to learn some of these things. So that's another thing I had to learn. What I was doing with the NSWAT, that's why I say that's really more of a broadcast take. What it is a broadcast hot take, like when Maui said Big would be top 5 or whatever. What you're doing is you're taking your best case scenario of what you wish happens if it all goes perfect, and you're saying, like, as a desk analyst, I'm going to say it now because I want to get the credit later. But what I made the mistake of is what you're talking about. I connected what I wanted to happen and thought could and was emotional about with what the business decision would be. And the business decision was, even if I think in the long run ENTs will be better than Mouse and Heroic, etc. Right now, if someone just said to me, there is no camera on Thorin, if you lose the money, we shoot you in the head, I would never make those bets, would I? I would go, I'm going to go safe on Heroic and just hope they figure it out. You know what? Mouse is interested. I'd do it like that, wouldn't I? So what I had to do is I had to separate the two. Yeah. There's the things I do in my videos for opinions, but when I'm doing the betting show, my only success on the betting show is how I do with the betting. So I've got to get that part right. I've got to, like you say, I actually have to even do the thing where you're just brutal with yourself and you go, look, yeah, obviously on the desk I would say this team wins because I want the credit if they do, but I also need to actually get this right. So on this particular one, I have to think as though I don't care about these teams, as though it's just like two robots playing, which one's better? That one's going to win, and the odds makes it, I've got to do that. Because there's another thing that's very easy to do, I'll tie it into, which is another thing I wrecked myself with early on. Because obviously it's awesome if you can say to fans, look, the reason why you should listen to this betting show is, see these underdogs, I'm taking these underdogs. They're the ones with the big odds. You know what? They've got it wrong. They're not actually like a 80-20 underdog. They're like 60-40 and they could win this. And I was talking myself into all the big odds ones when it was like, yeah, but the actual odds for the favourite are right. Like, actually, that is how often they'll win. And so I was fucking myself by thinking of 2x, 3x, and I was doing too many of those. Whereas, like, the key thing I'm saying before is I had to learn when to do those ones. Don't do them regularly, because in the long run, if the odds are like that, there's a reason. These companies aren't idiots. They're setting those odds because I'm going to get bossed if I just bet all that all the time on the underdog every time.
Exactly. Like, also, one important thing is that you have to realize what kind of bets are you good at, right? If you are, just give me a second. Cat is just going crazy. Anyway, you need to understand like what kind of bets are you. Many people are leaning towards underdogs, which is fine. Usually bet like one unit or 1.5 unit on the underdogs, and that's their strategy all the time, looking for value in underdogs. The other people, for me, I'm always leaning towards the favorites rather, in football, basketball, NFL, some of the ice hockey as well in Europe, not the NHL, but mostly Europe. So I'm always leaning towards the favorites more, because I feel like I can understand better, like when the better team is actually going to win. And obviously there is a matter of research. You don't go and if you see like Manchester United against fucking Southampton is 155 and you immediately grab it. Like you need to understand, like, let's see how did they, play in the last 2 weeks, who is going to be in the lineup, who is injured, who is injured on the other side. Maybe it doesn't have to be a straight up, final score bet. You can go for the corners market. You can go for you see like if the left left back is injured for the Southampton, and the right side we have Anthony, who is now in Manchester United. Maybe he's a little bit more forward. He goes pressure a little bit. That means there's going to be more corners. So you go with a handicap corner plus minus 2.5 or something. You get a good odd, right? In the NBA there is point spread. There is in CS:GO, I think equivalent to that would be something like. You look at obviously if you want to bet there, you look at the rules of the tournament first to see who vetoes first, who vetoes second. Then you go into the maps, thinking like maybe who has the better map, who's dominant on Inferno. Is that going to be a safe map for somebody? Then maybe, an underdog, maybe you can go in over 2.5 maps. There is a props bet as well, similar to football, where you have like anytime goal scorer in, let's say, Haaland, right? It's a very low odd right now, but it's a safe bet most of the times. There is props bet in, I don't know if the CS offers like amount of frags for certain players. Let's say you have Electronic in pit. They play Inferno. They're starting CT. He's on the pit. He delivers a lot of time. You see on the statistics that, for example, the team that are playing against us, maybe Astralis or Cloud9, they don't really go B too much. They rather go A. So there is a value on you betting Electronic to have over 10.5 frags or 12.5 frags, because that's something they used to do, right? And it's a very good value if you get like 1.7, 1.85, something like that he is going to have 15 frags in the first half or 14, 13, because Astralis is going on A all the time, right? And that's just, makes perfect sense. Obviously, you can go to the total of rounds, 25.5, that's like 16-11. And you can see that the underdog is starting as a CT on, again, Inferno, for example. They're going to get 6 or 7 or even 8 rounds as a CT. And then, surely they're going to get 2 or 3 more rounds as a T, right? Especially if they win that pistol. So there's a good value betting on something like that, where the odds are always around 185, 190. I think that would be that's equivalent to other sports as well. So there's a team. You need to do a lot of research. You don't just jump into bets and just waste your money, because you're going to end up losing all of your money, all of your bankroll, and then you're going to start messaging players privately. Hope you die, this, fuck you, and all that. That's how it happens.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're betting on their favorite teams. They're not looking who are they playing against. They're not doing any research. Borrow their mom's credit card. They go with $100, $200, they lose and they start swearing on Twitter and just messaging people on Instagram. And there was a thing like funny. This is one time I saw it that Bentet got a voice message on Instagram, voice message of hate after one game that we lost. Somebody actually recorded and sent him on Instagram. I heard it was just crazy, but that's what people do. They don't do the research when it comes to betting. They don't do much and they expect to win. Obviously, one of the most important things in sports betting and in esports, avoid parlays. Don't go like three games, 4 games, 2 games. Just avoid that. Play a single bet. If you think that some team is going to win or to get something done, any value in any kind of bet, just play a single bet, place one unit. Don't look at the odds. Just forget about the odds. Like, it can be 140, it can be 290, it can be 250, it doesn't really matter. Like, if you think that's a good bet on it, right? If you did your research, if you think that's a value bet, go for it. And then, if you win, you win, whatever.
It's
but
like I said before, your thinking has to be like poker, which is long term. It's like, if I'm actually doing the correct plays for my style, then it doesn't actually matter if I win these 10 times. I'm going to win X times out of 100. So I have to get to the volume that kicks in. And that way you do, because as you say, if essentially what you do is this, you're thinking, but it's only like 1.4 odds. If the odds should be 1.2, that can be a good bet if your bankroll can sustain it, right? The other thing I would spin it into is this, because there's a couple angles you talked on there that I'm now myself looking into. Before, I was also just looking at outright winner, the winner of this one, the winner of that one. The two angles I've noticed that in CSGO especially, it's not the same for Monty and League of Legends. It's a different game because how the draft works, and each game in a best of 5 technically is the same but with a different draft. In CSGO, we have a couple of areas that I actually think if you really put your effort into this, you'll see on these shows, I'm going to do this now a lot. It's actually why I've been winning a lot more of my bets. The two areas I'm looking at is one of the ways I'm trying to find better odds is, this is a point that fans forget. They act like it's a casino and that the site makes the number. They set the number at the beginning, but it's what the other people betting do that makes the number go up and down. So what I'm always looking for is this. It's exactly what you're saying. If I have a team that's a number 3 team in the world, and then they're playing the number 11 team in the world, right? Every fan's going, oh, free money, get in on the favourite. And they're driving that favourite's odds down. But here's the reason why I might bet on the underdog. Because they're just doing it because that team's better. Because they haven't done their research, like you say. They don't know that actually the map pool of this underdog team, maybe it's like fucking big and you're going to play them on like 2 classic nuke or something like that, like the maps they're always good on. It's like, first of all, you can have, like in normal games, an underdog can have a decent matchup against a better team because of the maps, because of the style of player. And then the other one for me is, similar to that, you don't even have to know that the underdog wins the series. There is sometimes insane value on the maps handicap, like you're saying. Will it be 2-0? Will it be 2-1? What you want is this. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll tell you a team right now. I don't like to bet on Heroic as a favourite, because Heroic's a team that fucking betrays you a lot. They aren't that good as a favourite. But I'll tell you what I do bet on if it's ever there and it's been badly priced by other people. If people have them getting 2-0'd, I might take that a lot of times with odds. Heroic's going to get a map in a lot of series, mate. There are teams that are going to go to 3 maps, even if they lose. And that's where, if fans have super bet one side and they don't understand this part, you're going to get really big odds on that shouldn't exist. You're going to get crazy value. And as you say, in that scenario, I can lose 2-1. I'm not betting on them to win the series.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just do the research, see what the map pool is, see how the team is playing, like look at those things. And before you make a bet, just before, just go straight and just, okay, this is the better team, boom, and I'm going to put like 10% of my bankroll. That's how you lose all of your money. So you just need to make sure that you follow those steps and you always stick to your, strategy, like always 1 unit at a time or 2 units at a time, no matter what the bet is, no matter how sure you are. Like you said at the beginning, there is always going to be bets. Like if I don't bet today, the money still be there. There's going to be more games. There's going to be more games tomorrow, the more games after that, and I think it's going to be fine, right? Even if you're not sure about the bet, skip it. Fuck it.
Perfect.
Let's go.
Yes.
It's gonna be tomorrow, right? We're gonna do it tomorrow, right? So that's another thing. And the most important thing also is not to tilt. You know how many people tilt when they lose 3-4 bets in a row and they're just starting like raising their stake and ending up like tilting the shit out of themselves.
I'll give you an example of one I did.
Losing a lot of money.
Obviously, the 2 classic ones is, the classic one is you just tilt because you want that money back, so you do a big bet. That's an obvious one you don't do because, as you said, you bet the same unit. Secondly, the other mistake I made, and I'm never going to do this again, this is why I figured it out very early, luckily. Because one thing people don't know about me, I know they'll say the opposite on the desk, because on the desk I don't ever have to be wrong, do I? Just don't give my fucking takes, do a shit-eating grin, and I can just come up with another clever reason. I don't ever have to actually admit I'm wrong. That's my whole skill. But in real life, the reason I am where I am, mate, is I actually learn really quick when I make mistakes. When I fuck up and it costs me money, a job, I figure out, what did I do wrong here? What am I going to do differently? But the mistake in betting I was making early was, say I bet on a team that I'm so sure is going to win and they lose. It's like, right, fuck it, bet against them all the time. It's like, that doesn't make sense. If I really thought they were the right team, now I'm just fucking myself the other direction. Like, it's not like the universe tried to fuck me. I just got unlucky on this bet. So I was doing that myself. I was like, right, in that case, always bet against that team. It's like, that doesn't work either. You can't take one result and make it your whole philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you need to follow the strategy that you have. Like, you have a plan. Don't bet over 1 unit or 2 units, whatever. Just stay conservative. The money is going to keep coming in. And for people who are telling you, after 1 month of betting, you're going to get like return on investment of like 60-70%. That's just garbage.
Of course, yes.
Like, for people who say that, they're just cheaters and they're like, they're just scammers and they're going to just try to take your money. You should be happy between 10 and 20%. Like, if you get around 13, 14, 15, that's just enough. Just think about like, investment banking or stocks and getting yearly 50%.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Yes.
But if you get monthly 10 to 12% of what you have and building your bankroll, that's absolutely crazy. That's 10, 12 units that you can, earn during that 1 month. But just keep betting on the same way that you do. Look for the proper bets. Do your research. Don't tilt. Just keep the strategy going. And at the end of the day, I can guarantee if you do it the right way, you're going to be in that very small percentage of people that are actually making money out of betting, right? Lately, I have been doing a lot of live betting. I think there is a lot of value in the live betting. Yeah. I have about like 4 screens plus tablet in my apartment. So there is like a Premier League going on or Bundesliga at the same time, and I have multiple bets, and I'm on a bet live. I have like all these screens turned up, and I watch all the games at the same time, right? I see like who has the initiative, like how is the game going, what's happening with the yellow cards. Is there a chance there's going to be like over 4.5 yellow cards or something like that? I look at what's happening in the halftime. Was there a lot of chances? So if it's like a 1-0 at the half, but there's like a lot of chances, and you can see that the goals are going to be coming, right? And then you bet live over 2.5, that's just going to give you like 170, 180 odd, and that's great value. You just place one unit and you can almost double your money. Really easy if you watch the game and just bet live. I think there is a value that I think there is a value bet in esports bet when it comes to CSGO and live. It's like a lot of underdogs against favorites winning the first map. I think the odds are jumping on the favorites quite a bit, and they just end up smashing the other team in the rest of the two maps very
Basically,
easily.
the classic one. You notice on the desk, I used to nail this all the time, mate. A lot of problems that the analysts have. By the way, one thing I've learned from betting that's really cool that I never thought of before is because on the desk you don't ever have to be wrong. You can give any take and there's not any outcome for you. A lot of people in CSGO on the desk, in my opinion, make the mistake of betting on the form of the last map when they make their prediction. Whereas I'm with you. If you ever have a scenario where like map 1 is the underdog's map pick and they win it because the other team's not good on it, but the next two maps are the two best teams for the favourite, I'm just saying the favourite's going to win these next two and win 2-1, mate. Like, I don't have to believe, but if they've lost that map, they're probably going to be down. No, like, that's not the way series work. We've all seen a million matches that go that way, and the underdog has the same story. I was up one map, and then I won a pistol, and I lost. Like, yeah, but look at the maps, mate. You were supposed to lose.
I think that the heroic example is a prime one when it comes to that. Like, they are the favorites. They're like 120, 125-ish against a team like maybe MIBR, right? And MIBR beats them on a map like Vertigo, let's say, that's the first map they pick. They won Vertigo. And Heroic wasn't good on Vertigo. They just lost 16-10. And the odds for Heroic to win is a jump from 120 to 175 or 160, 165. I'm taking that thing every day, right? Because, that's the value. That's the perfect value because Heroic is going to pick their map, which is, I don't know, Nuke or something. And they're going to, smash them. And then they're going to go into the third map. It's going to be 16-9, 16-10, and you get your money, right? Almost double one of your unit that you bet. So there's a lot of value there, I believe, in traditional sports and esports. And I think not just in CSGO, I think in Dota too. I think after the vetoes, the draft, I think you can immediately see changes a lot, and you can see like not just the outcome of the game, it also has the props bet like first tower, like who's going to take down the first tower, or who's going to take the Roshan first, or maybe not the first blood, but you can see that direction live inside the game.
You can see which lane's going to be ahead and have the push. Yeah, of course.
And it's going to be like it has value. So I think that's something that people who are betting should really take a look at, those live bets, in sports and in esports. I think there is a lot of value there. So, but also always stick to your strategy, stick to your units. Don't like force your bankroll into the thing where you cannot afford some bets because you're going to lose all of your money. Don't hope for some sort of 100% return on investment. It's never going to happen. No matter how lucky you are, you're always going to end up, losing a couple of bets in a row and then winning a couple of bets in a row. It's just the way it goes, right?
Yes.
I have like this monthly. I'm keeping the stats of every bet I made in the past 6 months, and there are streaks like where I win like 8 out of 10 bets,
Sure.
But there are streaks where I lose like 5 or 6 in a row, And it can be a small odd, like a 155, 140, 160, and I still keep losing because some shit happened. Some guy got a fucking red card in the first half, and my bet went to shit, right? So I just leave it and just write down as a loss, and that's it, and you move on. At the end of the day, you're always gonna end up, if you do your research, if you do your things right, you're gonna end up in a plus. It can be a 5%. It can be 25%, just depending on the month and how hard you actually do these things, and not just watching the games, preparing those games, like looking at the stats, looking who is injured, looking who is playing, what the lineups are. The best thing is to place a bet right before the game for me, because I get to see the lineups. I see, for example, for Manchester United is, who is playing in the forward. Is it, the Fred and fucking Bruno Fernandes at the same thing? Then I'm not going to bet on Manchester United. Shit like that, I'm going to see if Ronaldo is playing, who is on the bench, is the goalkeeper. Like, injured or their first choice or shit like that. Like I'm always going to look at those things before I make any kind of bet, right? So I think that's one of the key things there, plus the other things that we mentioned when it comes to bankroll and unit size and the not tilting and not playing like as a fan and all of those things.
I've got some more questions. It's all good. Right, here's the thing. One thing I'll say now, because if you don't know my style on my content especially, is I'm very transparent. I just tell people what I'm doing basically. So one thing I even do tell people, and Monty said this as well when we've done it, is when we do like bets on like a final, for example, if I'm saying like this team's going to win, we do make the bet way bigger because we're doing it as part of the market basically of the company there. What I'm trying to show you is I'm so confident that I'm going to put like a 2K bet that Vitality wins. Obviously that is terrible bankroll management. Don't do that if you're a fan, and I would even tell you that I'm just doing it for this reason and I can take the loss if I can, right? But the other thing I would ask you is this. One quick point of something you said that I just want to make sure fans get is when you say there, like say you had the bet on Heroic because they're the favourite and you got the right bet, but then as you say, like after map 1 the odds jump up, you don't think, oh well, they're still the favourites, so they're probably going to... No, you can do another bet there. That's when that next bet becomes even better. That's the rare case where you do want to double down, because that's a separate bet now with better odds. So there's one thing to understand. But the other thing I want to ask was this, because this is a really confusing thing that I got lost in, especially myself, which is bet size. So the question goes like this. When you're doing the bet, because you were saying you should do the units, right? Should you ever think of factors like, well, it is an underdog, so I should do less here because like I'm not sure. If it's the favourite, should I do more to try and like, max that I'm going to win, but it's only going to be less, so I'm going to make more of it? How do you gauge that part?
Yes, I think if it's like a lower odd, then I think like, there is a... Maybe like it should be 120, but it's 145 or 140, which doesn't happen all that often, but it happens. Maybe in that case, I would put 2 units, because I'm sure, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get 1 unit back roughly, as a profit, but I'm going to lose 2 units. So that's like what, 2% of my bankroll, which is not that much. It's just, 2%. It's fine. So I do increase in that point sometimes not, depending on the game and how certain I am and what the information is that I have about the actual game, like who is injured, who is playing a striker, are they, what's the form of the team in the last, 5, are they playing at home, away, like who is the referee for that matter, if some sort of a crazy motherfucker who never, goes into war and just doesn't fucking do anything. He likes to hand yellow and red cards all the time, like that Spanish guy, I think it was Lajos, who is just handing fucking yellow cards everywhere. It's just things like that. I base my unit on that. But if I'm not sure, if there is like an underdog bet, but I'm still not sure, I would do half a unit. There is a thing where I bet on the draw sometimes. If there is like, let's say, take Bundesliga and actually not Bundesliga, let's say Calcio, and Salernitana is playing Spezia, right? And that's like, you don't know, you think it's going to be, the most likely is going to be the draw. I usually 1/3 of a unit I place on that. The odds could be 3.7 to 4, like 4 to 1, and then I put like 1/3 of a unit. If it doesn't happen, if it's some sort of a bullshit game where it ends up in a 1-0-0-1, right? I lose 1/3 of my unit, which is nothing, 1/3%, but I can win, 4 times that if it actually comes to a draw. So I don't risk much, but I can bet I can win quite a bit if it comes to a draw. So it depends on the circumstances of the game and what information I can gather on the game, on these like sites and everything. That's, there's a lot of sites like Oddspedia, for example, like, not to advertise them here or anything, right. But it's like I use that site a lot, and they have like all these head-to-head and informations and everything, and a bunch of others. Like I'm actually, what I'm doing a lot is I Google Translate a lot of interviews that I find on domestic, like, fucking Gazzetta dello Sport or some shit like that.
To see if you got the little inside info or something.
Yeah, see like they get like any kind of what the coach said, what the player said in the interview, like some shit that I can pick up maybe to decide like if the odds is worth taking, right? And then after that, if I see it fit, then I bet. If not, then I don't. But for example, yesterday,
just to explain that to a fan, by the way, what he means there, again, think of it like poker. You're not playing against the casino. You're playing against the other players in poker. So the key thing Kassad's saying here is, obviously 99% of people, they aren't even doing research on basic stuff. So they're definitely not translating that article he's seen. So they don't have that info. So when they make their bet on the game, they might actually overbet the favourite. And maybe in this case, like the coach does say something like, we're bringing this guy back from injury. We're going to bring him in slowly on the second half. Like, if you knew that info, that might mean you see the edge. The value then in the bet is just from that info potentially.
Also, if they're playing like the win is not important for them as much as the draw, like I would never bet on that. If the coach says something like that, like we are gonna, look to defend our ground, something like that, we're gonna play a little bit conservative and looking for something like counterattacks or some shit like that. Just staying away from that shit immediately. So like there is a lot of things that you can do to maximize the chance of you actually winning a bet and ending up in a plus with when it comes to profit. So it's hard work like anything else.
Sure.
People say like gambling is not investing. I think it actually is.
It's the same strategy, like you said. It's the same concepts.
It's just the same concept, and I think you can do a lot of. You don't have to be super smart. You just need to be persistent in what you do. You need to do the research. You need to be, hard working. You cannot sit on your ass and bet on fucking Manchester City to win against,
of course,
Wolverhampton on the odd 1.17 and, place 50% of your stake and they play 1-1 and then you're just, what the fuck happened?
Yes.
It's just no point in that. But betting is quite fun. It's quite fun for me, and I love doing it. Like I said, I have around roughly 200 bets a month, depending on the month. I think right now the NBA season is about to start in a couple of weeks, so it should be interesting there. I do a lot of NFL betting. I know Janko loves NFL too, so we talk a lot about it. So there's a lot of value in betting there. When it comes to esports, I haven't really looked all that much, but I see a lot of like these gambling sites offering different options there. I don't know if there is any. I asked you, maybe is there any like prop bets there? Like
they do, like for example, you can handicap the maps and the series that way. You can bet specific games. So for example, when you know the veto, you can say they'll win 1 or 2 or 3. I even found recently, here's a little edge if you're an esports fan. So I actually did this during that game of Imperial versus that team Nouns that they almost lost to on map 1.
Oh yeah.
Well, I noticed because in the veto, the third map was like, I think it was like Vertigo or something that like Imperial never played, right? And the Nouns team was like in theory all right on that map. So does it look like Nouns was going to win map 1 and then probably lose map 2 and go to map 3? I was able to go and look, wait a minute, the odds are still ridiculous that they're like the underdog on map 3. So I was going to make the bet. And I even found, this is an interesting detail, they're even doing it on esports sites where, because it didn't go to a game 3, it just refunded me the bet. Dude, that's a fucking insane angle. Like, if you can ever get something like that, I'm going to look for that again, mate, when it's like a live game like that. Like, wait a minute, like, the underdog's going to win map 1 and they go... Because in that scenario, if I don't even lose the bet, I actually was at least going to take it on the chin. Like, if they don't go to map 3, I look like an idiot, whatever. But it turned out actually it was refunded. So I think that's even an angle people haven't thought of. So yeah, you could do that one. The problem is they haven't got it as advanced on most of the sites yet, where, as you say, like in football, if people don't know, this years ago, people started doing the prop bets, like the throw-ins and the fucking yellow cards. That became the new thing because obviously it isn't even as interesting to just be like winner only, because then you're waiting for the game to be won. Like, you want to have it, there's all the other action. Another thing I want to actually say as well was this, because obviously I can say some esports angles on this, but I agree with you, by the way, that it's a lot of fun when you actually do the work. Because what I found out as an analyst is, because I am just doing the historian angle or I'm entertaining people, I can just stick watching the top 10 teams if I want. I don't ever have to give a fuck what Big Clan does. I'll pick against them. If they ever win every now and then, I'll just go well done Tabson and fucking Sirius or something. I don't have to really know what they're good at. But what I actually found was the fun of trying to figure these angles out is it also helps you know more about the game. Like, you get a sense of like, it's more like if they start a game badly, they don't close out, and they on this map that was the swing map and maybe they shouldn't have vetoed it. It makes you even more knowledgeable. And so the last thing I want to ask was this. The other thing I learned about when not to bet is there are teams that I don't care what the odds are. I cannot trust these motherfuckers. So I'll give you a few, just for entertainment's purpose. I'll tell you a few in CSGO.
Can I guess first one?
Go on.
Furia?
I would never bet on them at the moment, but they're certainly one I avoid because, yeah, again, you can't know, like, is Curserato going to go mental? Are they going to be crap? There's one right there. I'll tell you a couple of others, classics. I almost never bet on Cloud9 to win. To win. See, keyword there. Every now and then I might do an underdog bet if they had really crazy odds. To win, though, like... That's probably the team, if people don't know, where the behind the scenes on that team is in scrims they are gods, just beat everyone. But you see in these tournaments, they're amazing right until the moment they aren't. And the moment they aren't, it can go way downhill. And so they're another team. I don't trust them, mate, if they're in the big match. It's why in Pro League, for example, I thought Cloud9 was going to beat Liquid, but the odds, I had to go, Liquid is like 2.7 or something, mate. I take that all day long. I can take that, you know what I mean? Another classic one for me is fucking Outsiders. Outsiders will beat teams they never should, but they could lose to anyone after that. Like, you can't know because that style's so mental, in it. So I'm just giving examples here because fans will immediately know as a fan, oh yeah, they do have a really weird style, or yeah, they do this up and down. Like, that's what I've learned. I don't have to bet on Cloud9 because there's always going to be more bets. That's what's brilliant. We're not even in a sport where there's not many games. There's going to be a tournament next week. There's going to be a tournament in 2 weeks. Why don't I just wait until I don't have to bet on Cloud9? I can bet on like FaZe Clan to beat like some fucking average team with 1.5. I'll take that all day long. Like if that's in like playoff, you add in the information to the playoff match. That team's not a playoff team before that's been on like everything's making that FaZe Clan bet more and more juicy. Why do I need to bet on this Cloud9 one when I can't trust them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is also a thing with best of ones. You should always avoid that type of bullshit, at least for the favorites. Like if you want to go for some underdog betting, best of one, I think it should be somewhere of a value. You see one win beating G2, a lot of these like crazy results during the last 10 majors, I guess, and it's like always the best of one. There is always an upset happening and shit like that. So maybe there is a value there. But yeah, I do agree when it comes to outsiders completely. Like there's teams that you should just avoid like completely. Like no. There is no value in risking even one unit for a team like that that's gonna fail, that can fail you on any day. Like no matter against who, even if they're playing against Pace, if they're playing against some Mickey Mouse team, right? They're still gonna, can fail you. So why not just avoid them? Because like you said, the tomorrow is a new day. You're gonna have another bet, right? And then when it comes to Cloud9, I would maybe consider them, but because at the end of the day, when they lose them, it's gonna be only one unit that I lost, right? But if I made beat them maybe 2 units, 3 units up to that point, then I'm fine, right?
Okay.
If they fail me,
you weigh it up like that, right? Okay.
Yeah, so it's fine if they do something like that. But if they fail in the quarterfinals or semifinals against Liquid like they did on a very good odd, that was like what I don't remember what was the.
I think it was like 1.4 or 5 or something. Yeah.
That's for example ridiculous. It was 1.4 for Cloud9 against Liquid in the semifinals. I would never take that. In a million years.
It's because they'd just beaten FaZe. Everyone was betting them down like, Cloud9's going to win. Yeah, exactly. It was fans doing that.
I would think that the best odd in that situation would be Liquid taking a map. I think that would be a good odd. That would be good value for Liquid to take a map in that same. Obviously, they won. We saw that, but in that specific moment, they beat them. They beat them before. They're playing well right now. Cloud9 is always like something that you cannot really count on. So instead of us going a full-on Liquid, maybe you just go for a one Liquid winning one map, which happened obviously. And I don't know what the odds were, but I'm certain they were not less than 150, 155 or something like that, right? That is the value there. But other things, I don't know. It's like depends on the team. Like you said,
I've got one to ask you about. So another one I tend to avoid, but I was just doing it like a new purely based off the number of the say a team like, funny enough, they did fail the Pro League, but coming into this Pro League because it's Na'Vi. Dude, you could never get Na'Vi any money. They were like 1.1, some 1.2 odds. It's like in that scenario, I tried to explain to fans, think how many times in a row we have to always win with Na'Vi to even make back what we lose if they fuck us one time. And by the way, this was the best example ever because they fucked everyone who bet on them in that group. You would have been bodied. I know it feels guaranteed, but that's only in terms of winning the game. The odds, like you said, the Manchester City example is the one in the Premier League. Like they almost never lose, guys. They might draw, but they almost never lose. But at the same time, you're betting on a win. In that scenario, you're betting to win. So what do you do in that scenario? I'm guessing you avoid a lot of the super heavy favorites, right?
No, never go with the odds that's like 115, 117, 120. That makes no sense. Financially, if you put you need to put 3 units to get maybe one back-ish, less than one, if my math is right. So it's it makes no sense to risk all that money for that little reward, especially because, like you said, they need to win the game. They're not starting the game by leading 10-0. It's 0-0, right? And it's 5v5 on the fucking server, right? So they still need to win that game. So why would I risk that money? If I want to go for something that's going to give me a little bit of value, I would go with the correct score 2-0, right? Which will give you 150, 160 or something like that. That has value. I will put maybe 1 unit on that or 3/4 of a unit there, and just go for the logical thing, which is Na'Vi is a better team, way better team. They should win 2-0, and then that's where you bet on, right? The same goes for Manchester City, for example. If the odds is 122, I bet Manchester City -1, which means if they win 2-0, I get my money, which is 1.5, 1.6. If they win with 1 goal difference, I get my money back. So it's a push or a void. I don't know how you call it, but the thing is -1 is always as a good. If you want to get a little more aggressive, then you go -1.5. Which is also a good bet, a little higher odds, but they need to win with 2 goal difference, which is a logical thing to happen because Manchester City is super strong. They always win, and if they draw, it doesn't really fucking matter, if they're gonna win or not. So it's you have to catch the value. Where is the value in the bet? It's the same thing. Same thing. It's when it comes to goals, like goals market. If you want to go both teams to score in a game, or you're going to go over 2.5, you see like for example, teams like Manchester City as well, like Bayern Munich, teams like that. They have super low odds, but you want to go with like something like over 1.25 goals in the first half. That means that, if they score 1 goal in the first half, then you lose half of your stake. If they score 2 goals, then you win. And if they score no goals, then you lose. So that's always a value bet that is like a decent odds. There are same things for Manchester United. What a bet that, teams like, for example, Manchester City and Bayern Munich, they like to finish the job in the first 30 minutes. Like there's a Champions League game yesterday and the week before that Bayern Munich beat Victoria Pilsen in the first 30 minutes. It was like 4-0, 3-0, something like that. So that's a great value for you if you played like over 1.5 goals in the first half, right? It was the odd or 1.85 or something like that. So, and you look for those teams that are like always looking to finish the job quickly, similar to, let's say, Navi. They don't want to struggle against weaker teams. They're just going to go for their best map, win 2-0, go home, get ready for the next match, and the odd can be all right, like 1.6, 1.5, which is a decent odd for a team like Navi playing against, whoever.
That's really
right?
good, yeah.
So
it's the only way, and the key thing to understand there if you're a fan is that's the only way you're going to get value out of a Navi bet. If they really are, like when they have, when they're in real Navi form, not Pro League, when they have like 3 of the top 15 players, Simple's number 1, Electronics number 5, like that's where exactly, like that's how you're going to get that team at like 1.67 odds. You're not going to get it heads up against the 10th best team in the world. Like it's going to get bet down to 1.1, 1.2. Another thing I want to ask was, the other thing as well that at the moment's an interesting angle, I want to get your take. Do you ever do this? Do you ever do it where you just bet like at the beginning of a tournament, because in esports is a big thing, you can just bet the outright winner of the tournament? Do you ever do that? Do you ever try and pick like if you, do you do ever outright ones? Do you ever try and make it where you don't want the favorite, you want like the third or fourth that has the high odds? What do you do?
Not the winner of the whole tournament, but I do like winner of the group. Like let's say you have 8 groups in Champions League, right? And then I go for a straight group winner, which is obviously I avoid Manchester City, which is like 1.3. That's ridiculous to put money and wait 6 weeks to get possible return of 0.3 unit back. But you look for some even group and you look at the form. Like let's say there's a group with Tottenham, Marseille, and Sporting, and it's who is Eintracht Frankfurt, is in that group. So maybe the Tottenham has the best team and they're playing the best football right now. So maybe the value is on them to actually win the group by the end of this month. And I think the odds were maybe 2.7 for them to top the group. That's a fair value. Tottenham is the best team there. I don't know if they're actually going to win it. I think they're doing all right at the moment. Can't remember, but that's how I approach those things. I don't go for the outright winner of the whole event because that's just too long. I avoid that. But the group stage thing I think it's quite appealing. You're going to have the same thing for World Cup that's coming in Qatar in about a month from now. So that's going to be very interesting for those. There is a lot of different group stage. Those picks where you can go for, like, Serbia is in a group with Brazil. I think the odds for Brazil to win the group is like around 150 or something, which is a value because Switzerland, Brazil, and Cameroon, Serbia, and Cameroon in their group, it's going to be a no-brainer. I watched Brazil in their games preparing for the Qatar. They look absolutely unstoppable. It's just a good odd, and it pays back in 10 days after you place it. So I would rather go for a group winner, something like that, rather than or there is a thing where you can bet to qualify for the playoffs. Right. I think if the esports, like let's say CSGO, has something like that, they offer you see the Pro League Group A, Pro League Group B, or the whatever the tournament is, and then to qualify for the playoffs. I think that can be a decent value on some bets. Like you can know the teams that prepared and that they're looking good at that moment. They made the right changes, and they're going to come to the playoffs. So that can be interesting too.
This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Butt Pounder 420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, Pacy, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and as always, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Would you like to ask a question in one of those monthly AMAs where sometimes I roast people? Do you want teasers to find out who the guests are for upcoming shows and interviews I'm doing? Maybe you want to be part of one of those cool, lengthy esports discussions that I have. Well, if any of those perks sound tantalizing to you, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box below.